I'm Emily Chang, and you're listening to The Circuit. On this episode, we're taking you behind the scenes at Disney headquarters to meet Dana Walden, Disney's co-chair of entertainment. She's a longtime TV hitmaker with, some might say, the magic touch, who currently oversees one of the largest creative portfolios in the world between Hulu, Disney+, FX, and ABC. She also happens to be a contender for the top job at Disney when CEO Bob Iger steps down next year. Walden is widely seen as one of Hollywood's savviest executives with a powerful web of relationships with some of the most famous stars and showrunners.
What's your approach to talent, especially when you have to say no?
In a lot of cases, a fast no is the second best thing to a yes, because it enables great partners to move on and find the thing that is going to be explosive and can be a big hit.
But even veterans like Walden are facing challenges in the rapidly shifting business of media. There's the ongoing streaming wars, consolidation in Hollywood, the rise of AI, and a very heated conflict involving President Trump and late-night host Jimmy Kimmel, just to name a few.
Did President Trump call you or Bob or vice versa? Did you get any pressure from the White House?
He did not. We did not hear from them.
We talked about Disney's controversial call to suspend Kimmel, then reinstate him, a decision made by Walden and Iger, as well as what makes a good TV show, and so much more in a sit-down at the famed Team Disney building in Burbank, California. That's where she, Iger, and other Disney lieutenants are overseeing the fate and future of one of the world's most powerful and beloved media companies. Let's roll sound, please.
Hi. Wow. This is very serious and professional.
How long have you been in this office? Has this been your spot since 2019 or?
All over.
Okay.
It's kind of crazy. I started out in that building.
Okay.
Because when I first got here, I oversaw a lot of like the linear channels, and then I was doing Hulu originals too, but ABC's based there.
Yeah.
That is the ABC building.
Okay, the green one?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I moved into this building in an office across this floor. And then I moved here a couple years ago.
Okay.
Which I like.
Yeah, and who's, so Christina's on this floor. Who else is on this floor?
Christina's here. Hugh Johnston, our CFO, is here. Alan Bergman, who's my partner, is here. Horacio Gutierrez, our general counsel, is here.
Yeah.
And then Bob is right there.
Right there, through that door?
Yeah, his outer area.
Yeah. Nice. So we're heading into the holidays. Is this a busy time for you?
It's so crazy. It's so crazy. We have so many things. It's such an important time in the business. And then it's an important time to try to be with your family, as I'm sure you know. And I am definitely, notwithstanding, work pressures, I am the gift picker. I am the gift buyer. If we have a holiday card, it's because I'm sending it. I used to sit in my driveway and my family would be having dinner.
Yeah.
In the dining room was right next to the windows when you drove in the door. Yeah. And they would see me just sitting there and I'd just be taking some breaths, trying to make the transition, and my younger daughter would come out and she'd knock on, and she'd say, we see you. We know you're here.
Yeah. So is it nice to be on the floor with all the executives? Do you gather and chit chat?
It is. I wish I was closer to my teams. I love spending time with them, and they all come over here and I'll go to their offices, but having the opportunity to go into any of the smart executives I work with in the C-suite here and get a point of view about something I'm doing, it's really great. I pinch myself every day I drive on this lot and think, I can't believe I get to work here.
I did a show with Bob like 10 years ago, right out front. It was called Inside Disney.
That was 10 years ago?
Yeah, and here we are, 10-ish years ago. So just wanted to do a little bit of background. You grew up in LA.
I did.
What drew you to Hollywood?
Well, it's actually funny. I grew up about 4 miles from here. I always say this job was like the pull of the valley back to this exact spot. I had a great upbringing. My mom was in musical theater. She was a performer, and she really taught me to love a great story. Took me to see movies and theater, and we watched a lot of TV together as a family. And then I remember when I was 12, my parents switched out the TV in the living room and got a new one. And I somehow convinced my mother to let me put the old one in my room. I didn't come out for about 5 years. I think she regrets that choice now, but it put me on this path.
Well, your brain didn't turn to mush. I mean, it worked.
It's true.
And your grandfather gave you Disney shares.
Yes. My grandparents loved Disneyland. They took us every summer. They lived in Vancouver. And they would come down during the summer, and we would all go as a family. It was really a memorable time. And then when I turned, 10 or 11, my grandfather, who really considered himself a businessman first, he thought about who runs the best businesses. We were always talking about it. He was trying to impart upon me, what the virtues are of a strong business. And all of a sudden, they would bring down over Christmas 5 shares of Disney stock for Christmas. And I have to say, when I was 10, I did not think it was the best gift. Although every certificate, which it still does today, had the iconic characters on it. So very special.
Did you hold on to it?
I did. I held on to a lot just because they had sentimental value to me, not just that I was looking at the value of the gift.
You landed a PR job at 20th Century Fox.
I did.
1992, that was. And that's where you had your famous Jerry Maguire moment.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Much has been made of that. I think maybe it's taken on a life of its own. But I got to Fox, as you said, ended up spending 26 years there, was at a retreat and made a presentation in front of Peter Chernin, who was at the time chairman of Fox Entertainment. And I don't know what happened. He was impressed with a few of us in that room, and he just pursued a conversation with me afterwards, just trying to understand what my passion was. And notwithstanding that I came in on the PR side, I really had a passion for storytelling and creativity. And I remember him saying, why don't we move you over into that area? And it was a really unique opportunity. I was not such a high-level executive. I took a step back and moved into an area which I didn't understand very well at the time, but I had amazing mentors who taught me, along with some of the creators that I was working with at the time, Chris Carter on The X-Files, Jim Brooks on The Simpsons. They really taught me how to understand storytelling and production, and it was a wonderful period in my career, and it led to, again, a 26-year career at Fox where I was given so many opportunities. I oversaw different businesses, consumer products, domestic distribution, the broadcast network at Fox, but my heart was really always with our television studios and working with creators like Jim Brooks on, I think, many of the best television shows in the history of the medium. Shows like The X-Files or 24, The Simpsons, Family Guy, Glee, American Horror Story, The Americans' Homeland. I mean, the list really went on, and it was just a wonderful, wonderful time in my career.
You took Fox from fourth to first with shows like Glee and 24. What are the strategic decisions that you made that you think made the biggest difference?
So, when I got into the Fox network, the network business at the time was pretty cyclical. You would ride a wave and have incredible programming that would hit the zeitgeist and be number one. And then those shows would get, a little bit long in the tooth, and another network would come up and have the hot new show. And I came in at the unfortunate time as Fox was on its way down to number 4 in entertainment. And really, we put it back together and got back to number 1 brick by brick. It was with shows at the time we had Empire. And then I convinced my best friend Ryan Murphy to do a show called 911. That was a huge global success. And out of that came a spinoff, 911 Lone Star. And then we launched The Masked Singer, which was such a big, noisy, kind of audacious reality show. And just piece by piece, we put that schedule back together. And at the point that I left, which was 2018, it was back in the number 1 spot.
So Netflix kicks off the streaming boom. It takes Disney 6 years to get into streaming, launches Disney Plus in 2019, buys Fox to try to catch up. That's when you enter the scene. Did you feel like you were starting from behind?
I didn't really. At the time, I thought, what an amazing opportunity to join a company which is the gold standard in storytelling. That's been my passion. That's where I've spent the majority of my time, is just stories which endure, stories that matter. I think that was one of the reasons that Bob was so interested in acquiring those Fox assets, because we had many, many seasons of the types of shows that built the foundation of Netflix subscriber base. So I felt like we had the right tools combined with, of course, the iconic Disney IP, which is a total differentiator. It is available nowhere else. It is special and it means something for generations of people. And I thought we had a lot of solid tools. And we weren't really starting from all the way behind. We had been partners in Hulu. So we had a streaming service that was incredibly well subscribed in the US. And Disney Plus launched with, I think, 10 million subscribers in the first 24 hours. So we did not feel by any stretch that we were behind.
So you oversee now one of the largest creative portfolios in the world between Hulu and Disney Plus and FX and ABC. How do you see all these pieces fitting together inside the Disney universe? And what do you see as the balance between streaming and legacy sitcoms and linear and broadcast?
Well, that's a very broad question. I would say in terms of streaming, I have a partner who oversees Disney Plus and Hulu with me, Alan Bergman. He oversees the Disney feature business and Star Wars, Marvel, and Pixar, and Walt Disney Animation. So he oversees the branded pieces. I oversee the branded for kids. And then I oversee the general entertainment, which includes shows like The Simpsons and Family Guy. And I would say our strategy is we want to create someone's very favorite show. And we have such a vast array of stories, and they are so well executed. And while there's a very big difference between our branded shows, the iconic content, Mickey, Minnie, the princesses, and what we're doing on the general entertainment side with Shogun or The Bear or the Kardashians. The consistent thread, though, is incredible high quality. We are never in the business of doing the most stories. We want to do the best stories and be a place where we're a trusted environment for parents. Our shows have appealed, our stories have appealed to kids for 100 years. And then we also want to make it easy for subscribers to find a great story like Grey's Anatomy, right? Which leads to the question of our linear channels. And when we think about our distribution ecosystem, we think about it as an integrated television business or an integrated entertainment business. The types of shows that we get from broadcast are shows that have not been built on streaming. They are also unique. You think about, Grey's Anatomy or High Potential, those long-running, multiple episodes. You can do a deep dive into a long-running series where you love the characters. They become part of your group every day. You think about those characters because there's so much content to satisfy you. And that's a type of programming that uniquely comes from our broadcast network, ABC, or Dancing with the Stars. Live is really a specialty of linear and of broadcast television. And Dancing with the Stars is up something incredible, like 60% this season.
I saw that.
And I think that's a combination of we're simulcasting it across our streaming services and ABC. Younger subscribers are watching it on Disney Plus. The original fans are watching it on ABC. And together, we're serving fans wherever they want to watch our shows.
Yeah. I've spoken to a few people now who rave about the art of Dana Walden. I've read about you getting up early to watch cuts on a treadmill. What's your approach to talent, especially when you have to say no?
Well, saying no is very hard. These are people who I not only respect, but I care about. And there is no one strategy. I think strong partnerships and relationships that you invest in over time where your partners believe that you are in it with them, enable you to have conversations in an authentic and trusting way where, for example, I was actually just talking to Kelly Ripa about this. In a lot of cases, a fast no is the second best thing to a yes, because it enables great partners to move on and find the thing that is going to be explosive and can be a big hit. And while, these decisions are a bit subjective, the decisions that our teams are making are based on decades and decades of experience. And the more transparent we can be with partners, I think the more resilient the partnerships are.
The competition is fierce between Netflix and Apple and Amazon and YouTube. Netflix is arguably the one to chase. How are you different from Netflix, and where do you see similarities in the playbook?
Well, it's very clear Netflix has done an extraordinary job, and they really have developed into a utility. Right? They, in many situations, that is the place you go when you don't know what you want to watch, but you're going to watch TV. They did that very successfully. The difference is, I think, with Disney, there's an emotional connection. There's I have to see that show. I want to see that film. I've been waiting to see Moana 2 and it just hit Disney Plus, or I've heard so much about Shogun and I have to check it out. While we are not the same type of utility, I think there is an emotional connection that Disney has with fans, and I would say that's a huge asset for us as we continue to build out our streaming services.
Would you say there's a difference in terms of quality versus quantity as well?
Oh, no question. No question. We've never been in the quantity. We're not trying to create a fire hose of content. We're trying to curate, and we think that now and into the future, there will be a great benefit to subscribers in feeling like a team is curating the best shows and they don't have to go searching for whatever that might be.
That said, Netflix shares are up 80 times. Since the start of streaming, Disney shares have about doubled. Netflix's market cap is about twice the size of Disney now. What's your message to investors?
Well, I think, again, there can be both services can coexist. And I think we keep making quarterly gains, both in terms of revenue, NOI, in terms of subscribers and engagements. We're delivering on all the important metrics, and that's happening being true to ourselves, being authentic, and also offering the best storytelling, I think. In the industry, regardless of who I talk to, whether it's someone at a big tech company or someone at a traditional media company, inevitably, well, if you're in tech, you want to talk about Star Wars. But you want to talk about one of our beloved pieces of IP. It is, again, the pull of a Disney story is tremendous. And I think we have an ability to optimize content around our company in a way that none other does. When you think about the wonderful stories that we tell that are now distributed through Disney Plus, and then how they come to life in our parks, on our cruise ships, at retail and consumer products. That is completely unique to Disney, and we see our competitors try to replicate that, let's call it a flywheel, and it's virtually impossible to start from scratch, and it's also really difficult to do it without that IP.
The streaming boom has slowed. It seems like there's less getting made. Studios keep going back to established showrunners. How would you describe this moment in time in Hollywood?
Well, I think we've been in transition for over a decade. I think most of us who grew up in the old Hollywood system have become very resilient and very accustomed to change. And we are pivoting. We've recently hired a new technology team of incredible engineers and product design executives who have come from best-in-class technology companies, from YouTube and Google and Meta, and the progress we're making on that front is very encouraging. And you have to keep moving forward, and you have to look at the strength that you bring to this particular moment in our business and really lay into the unique assets of each company. And for us, that means designing product features that lean uniquely into the IP of the Walt Disney Company.
Now, some of the critics would say that Disney Entertainment is in a tough spot. Your share of streaming is plateauing, profits have underperformed estimates. How do you see it, and what are you doing to shift that?
Well, I don't know. I think it depends on, what moment in time. We are growing all of those important metrics. I'm not sure, and I can't speak to whether expectations keep being set beyond where we're delivering, but the growth is there. And that's what we're focused on, which is growing, making very interesting partnerships around the world with local broadcasters, which is Disney comes as a friend to the creative community. We want to keep the ecosystem of creators, of distribution in each of the markets where we operate strong. And we think we can be an asset to them, a partner, and also that we can coexist. And that is not the strategy of all streaming services. Mm-hmm. So we've been met with incredible optimism throughout EMEA. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, please, no. Same. I'm like,
this is the residual cold.
I feel like even if I don't have a cold, especially when I need to be on,
I know.
It's just like sits in there and it's like, hello, I'm just in your throat.
Yes.
Yeah.
So again, in each of the markets, each of our priority markets, we've had local originals, which are hits now, that helps to inform our strategy going forward, which also help us to expand our reach and to offer a greater amount of content at a comparable price.
There's also this perception that with everything that is Disney, quote unquote, now, with the stuff you've bought, the stuff you made, that the Disney brand itself has been diluted. How do you respond to that? What is Disney's DNA?
Yes, well, I would have to dispute that. I think that's not really fair. I think when you think about the global box office over the past couple years with Inside Out 2 and Moana 2, Zootopia 2 about to be launched, the recent past with Encanto and Coco and the diversity of content, I think that this company is judged very harshly because people have very high expectations because they love it. And that connection, that love, whether it's our programming for kids, where we know how important that programming is. You and I were discussing it earlier. When kids connect to our stories, they develop a lifelong connection and affinity for our brand and our characters, which is unlike any other company. We have the top 3 kids shows in streaming in the US right now. And each of them sort of illustrates what our strategy is, which is you have the original canon of characters, Mickey, who's about to be 100 years old and has been refreshed a number of times throughout that period and continues to stay beloved generation to generation. So Mickey Mouse Clubhouse or Mickey Mouse Clubhouse Plus. Then we're also developing shows based on Marvel characters like Spidey and His Amazing Friends, the Avengers, Iron Man, Young Jedi from Star Wars. Again, that is helping our youngest fans develop a connection to those characters in a delightful way with shows that are optimistic, aspirational. They're so joyful, and parents trust us with their kids, which is, again, a very unique phenomenon. And then along with our iconic IP, we're always looking for original series for kids that share those attributes. And there's no better example than Bluey. It is a global phenomenon, as it should be. It's a brilliant show, but it feels like Disney IP. Bluey and her family will be walk-around characters in our domestic parks, on our cruise ships. In 2027, we'll be releasing a Bluey film, and it is excellent. I have seen a sneak peek. It's so good, but what I would say is I just dispute the notion because I see the facts. I mean, $4 billion at the global box office right now, significantly ahead of any other theatrical company, and the most streamed shows in the US, both in terms of our general entertainment, Grey's Anatomy, Family Guy, Bob's Burgers, The Simpsons, as well as our kids programming. So I don't think that's a fair observation.
Shogun has turned out to be a huge success, and you're trying to lean into more global and localized content. Bob Iger said you're taking a disciplined approach to this.
Yes.
What does that mean? What markets are on the table? What's off the table?
Well, Disney Plus is currently in over 150 countries. We are not producing local originals in all of them. We are picking key countries in each of the regions and developing original content there. And it's been a really exciting part of my job, I have to say. Working in this industry for a long time, there was a distribution model where we would take our gems, right, our shows that were huge hits in the US, and then we would hand them over to third-party distributors and just kind of hope for the best. And we would get anecdotal information about whether they worked or didn't work, but we were never boots on the ground, really having an understanding of what that consumer wants. And this original content strategy enables us to do that, enables us to understand the value of the Disney IP combined with hit general entertainment shows that feel global, like Shogun that you just mentioned, or Grey's Anatomy, and then take markets like UK, Germany, Spain, Italy, France, throughout Asia. We have Japan and Korea, and then Brazil and Mexico, a focus in Latin America, where we're creating shows that are not just for those countries. They travel, we know how those shows travel regionally when you get them right.
Squid Game and The Crown are major hits. Like, Netflix does seem to be way ahead in this area. Can you catch up?
Well, I think you can. I think you just named two shows. So I would put up Shogun and Grey's Anatomy. Those are global hits. They're coming from the US, but they work around the world. We had a massive hit in Korea with a show called Moving that signed up millions of subscribers and, was the envy of all of our competitors in that region. So absolutely, the value of a hit continues to be very meaningful. And frankly, each of the streamers has found its way to a couple that can work globally. I don't think that's typically the dynamic. I think the whole reason behind trying to super serve, trying to give these services local flair, is about content that feels very targeted to a certain audience. But when you get it right, the fact that that can be a global sensation, that's happened for all of us.
There's a lot of curiosity about your post-integration plans for Hulu. You do have 3 separate apps between Hulu and Disney Plus and ESPN. How problematic is it to have 3 different apps? And is a Disney Super app coming?
Well, I don't think it's problematic. I think it's actually hugely beneficial because even in the way we bundle our services today, we really think the best experience is to watch it all together on Disney Plus, which is even currently you can be a subscriber to the trio bundle or the triple bundle, as Bob calls it, and you can watch the best of ESPN games together with the Hulu general entertainment and deep library shows along with the iconic Disney IP all together on Disney Plus. Ultimately, being able to continue to advance that UI and making sure that Disney Plus is a place where if you're a Hulu dominant subscriber, you love opening the Disney Plus app and watching that type of show there. If you're coming in predominantly for ESPN, you open the app and the environment feels like it is personalized and specific to you. And that is the direction we're moving because we think ultimately it's easier. It reduces the friction to be able to access it all in one place.
So does that mean a super app is coming? I mean, I know Bob said you're working on some big significant changes.
Yeah, you know what? We're on the path to delivering that experience all in one place. And that is not said to send a message to any Hulu subscribers that they're not going to have the exact type of experience they love. At the point we get there, that will be because each cohort has the experience that they love together in one app. But for the time being, a lot of people are watching it all together on Disney Plus.
You got the Kardashians to come to Hulu after a years-long, very successful run at NBC.
Yes.
So between the Kardashians and Mormon Wives, your unscripted originals seem to be working. What's the next frontier in reality TV?
I think that we're finding the next frontier. I mean, every new hit is indicative of what's to come, and they always borrow something from a tried and true formula, but they have a slight twist. With the Kardashians, leaving Keeping Up with the Kardashians and just becoming the Kardashians was a huge move for them. The show is far more cinematic. The starting place is with women who are probably all billionaires, if not on their way to being that. They're successful entrepreneurs. It's a new generation of and aspirational in terms of how fans want to engage with that family. I would say that's the evolution of what the strategy was with that show. With Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, that's a subculture that people are fascinated with, and yet there are so many of the elements of just an old-fashioned hit reality show that are there, but it feels like the next generation. For us, it is utilizing all of those assets to create sort of a virtuous circle of engagement. If you look at our Mormon Wives, and then they are contestants on Dancing with the Stars, and then the winner of Dancing with the Stars ends up in their own show with elements of dancing in it, and then the Kardashians have connected tissue with some of these shows. It is trying to make sure that, unlike what used to happen previously, which was you had to wait for a new season of your favorite show, our shows all have elements of each of those shows which are beloved.
We got to talk to Kim and Ryan at the All's Fair premiere. All's Fair hasn't gotten great reviews. Mm-hmm. This was a big swing. How do you think about the hits and misses?
Well, I would not call All's Fair a miss. It is actually performing incredibly well with the audience. Mm. And look, I would say critical acclaim is great, and we're very happy when that is part of our campaign to launch a show. But ultimately, we're creating shows for our audience and for our subscribers, and not really for critics. So I actually think the critics being extreme in their reaction activated, in particular, Kim's followers and created an entire new wave of publicity and attention for the show that really benefited the show. The show's fun, and it's original, and it's dishy, and it's addictive. It's irrelevant that, we had a disconnect with some of the critics.
When it comes to streaming, the biggest audience doesn't even belong to a Hollywood entertainment company. It's YouTube. Mm-hmm. Some analysts project that YouTube is on its way to surpassing Disney as the largest media company in the world. How big a threat is YouTube? And how are you changing your strategy to compete?
Mm-hmm. Well, again, as I said earlier, clearly a lot has changed over the past decade. We're dealing with different dynamics, and that's happening at a faster pace as we compete with big technology. I do have to laugh when I think about many of the meetings that I have with people in those tech companies, where ultimately we spend some portion of that meeting talking about, as I said before, Star Wars, but all of our iconic IP or Shogun or the thing that keeps us at the table with big technology is no company will ever be able to generate a library of stories like this company has over the past 100 years. And that IP is precious, and it's unique to us, and it is helping to create a path for the future in terms of how we compete and what the future might look like. Mm-hmm.
You just ended a pretty resolved, I should say. You just resolved a pretty heated carriage fee dispute with YouTube TV. Mm-hmm. It raises the question, who needs who more? Does Disney need YouTube, or does YouTube need Disney?
Well, I think the deal that we ended up with is illustrative of the fact that we kind of need each other. Mm-hmm. And I would say that deal ended in a win-win-win situation where YouTube TV won, Walt Disney Company won, and consumers won. because these deals are all different now, the carriage agreements. It's not like the old days where there was a one size fits all. Every company, whether it's satellite, cable, internet, big tech, they all have different needs. They all have a different strategy for how they want to appeal to their consumers. And for us, trying to be flexible and understand what the priorities are have enabled us to craft deals that work very well for us. They're different from the ones that we've made in the past. But whether it's packaging, genre packaging, or a deal that shifts away value from what were channels that were important in our ecosystem to our future-facing business, which looks more like a direct-to-consumer business, that value exchange has enabled us to resolve these deals. They're heated. I think they have been across the board in the industry, but the result is pretty innovative deal-making where both companies came out with what they needed.
Okay, hard pivot.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Kimmel.
Wow, that's a really hard
It is a hard pivot.
Okay.
What happened? And what were the conversations between you and Bob and Jimmy?
Well, that was a very hard period. Obviously, it was something I hope that I don't have to revisit in my career. And Jimmy has spoken about it extensively. So I don't want to cover any of the ground that he's already covered. I think maybe the thing that I could tell you that I don't think has been meaningfully covered is what you just asked, what we were thinking in that moment that we decided to hit pause on his show. And it had nothing to do with any external factors. As a matter of fact, we were thinking about only one thing as we made that decision very close to his show going back up on that Wednesday. And that was, the situation was extremely heated. We wanted to take the temperature down. We didn't think that was going to be possible that night. So we hit pause to have conversations with Jimmy. Jimmy is a great partner. He's been a partner to this company for over 2 decades. He's a good friend of mine. Those conversations were thoughtful. Mm-hmm. They were meaningful. And ultimately what they resulted in was Jimmy coming back on the air really 4 days later in terms of shows missed, mm-hmm. with a pitch perfect monologue where he met the moment in the way that we hoped he could, in a way that took the temperature down and was reflective of a lot of thoughtful conversation, thinking ultimately about several groups. We wanted to resolve the situation in a certain way to protect our employees, to think about our audience, to think about Jimmy and his staff. And ultimately, I feel like everyone was protected in the best way possible through the process that we engaged in, which only happened because of the strength of the relationships that exist between us and Jimmy.
Did President Trump call you or Bob or vice versa? Did you get any pressure from the White House?
He did not. We did not hear from them.
So this was a trial by fire moment. When you look back, how do you think you handled it? And is there anything that you would have done differently?
No, I'm enormously proud of how we handled it. Again, it was a very unique situation. It was something I'd never dealt with before in a long career of dealing with many different types of crisis. But working through it at the pace we did, getting the result ultimately that we did for all of us, I don't think there's anything I would have done differently at this point, because anything I would have changed would have risked the ultimate outcome, which I thought was very good.
There are reports that cancellations of Disney Plus and Hulu spiked after the incident. Mm-hmm. Not sure if you can confirm that. But how do you balance free speech and creative freedom in a polarized climate?
Well, I think those reports were highly exaggerated. And I can tell you that a number of those cancellations were saved once Jimmy was back. And the fact that Jimmy was prepared to be so honest, so candid about the process, I think was very cathartic for his fans as well. Again, we ended up back. You saw the number of subscribers that we reported during our earnings. We had a very strong quarter. I think that this issue is firmly in our past.
From President Trump to Jeff Bezos to Barry Weiss, who's now at CBS, the power centers in media are multiplying. Audiences are splintering. Trust is eroding. You sit at this really interesting intersection of journalism and politics and corporate power. What does it mean to oversee ABC at this particular moment in time?
Well, I would say that we have stayed true to what our strategy has been consistently at ABC News. I have enormous respect for the journalists who work at ABC News. They make me proud every day. The goal and ultimately what we're trying to deliver on is straightforward news, right? It's not biased news. It's not editorialized. It is straightforward news from many of the people who I think are best in class in their business. So what we think about every day is do we have the right contributors? And the answer is yes. Is it being run in a way that we can all stand behind proudly? Absolutely. Deborah O'Connell and Almin Kermamedovich, they just every day are thinking about our consumer, our viewer. They're thinking about it. Deborah oversees our owned television stations as well and our local news teams. And we're thinking about what is our responsibility, trying to not be distracted by a lot of news. And I think it's the reason why Good Morning America is the #1 morning show and why World News Tonight is many, many times when we're not in prime sports season, the #1 show on broadcast is World News Tonight. I think it's because we're staying true to those values.
I believe Bob sits right behind that door. How would you describe your relationship with Bob Iger? What have you learned from him and how has that impacted your work and your life?
Yeah, it's been an extraordinary relationship that I value highly. We are not only colleagues, we have a very good friendship, and he is a terrific mentor. I feel lucky. I want to pinch myself every day that I have the opportunity to learn from him, learn about the strategy of how he built this company to where it is, and then to understand what it was like to come back and take over in very difficult times and right the ship. So it is the opportunity of a lifetime. And it was one of the reasons I came to Disney was to learn from Bob.
The biggest story in Hollywood now is who's going to be the next CEO of Disney. And there are pundits and analysts all over TV and podcasts talking about who's in the lead, and you're one of the leading candidates. So they're often talking about you. They're often pitting you against your colleagues. What's it been like for you on the inside?
Well, being pit against my colleagues, I don't appreciate because we have incredible relationships. We are a very tight organization. We collaborate often. Again, you think about the IP that we work on that is brought to life across our parks and experiences business, the sports that Jimmy oversees that ultimately is part of what's on ABC and how we bring our streaming services to life. You know, again, what Josh, Alan, and Jimmy contribute enormous. And we not only have great business relationships, we have a lot of fun working together. So anything that is a distraction from that is unfortunate because it's not the truth. But I have enormous faith in where this company is going. I'm very confident. Part of why I'm confident is there's a world-class team at this company who is navigating the path into the future. And this company is strong and we are going to succeed.
Do you try to tune out the noise?
Absolutely. It's not helpful. The noise is, I understand it. It's a great soap opera for whomever it is that's trying to create soap operatic dynamics, which really don't exist. You're on this floor. You can see it would be really hard to create the dynamics that some might suggest on this floor. It's just a peaceful environment where people are collaborating.
Well, you are the expert on making good shows. So since you mentioned soap operas, if this was a scripted series, would it be a drama, a comedy, a thriller? Who should play you?
Who should play me? These are things I haven't thought about. And when I think about how to create a schedule where I can fit all of the things I need to accomplish in all day, this is not one of the things I put on my calendar. Again, I'm incredibly confident about where we're going.
I want to talk a little bit about M&A because there's some potentially big shifts in the industry on the horizon, companies being bought, companies getting broken up. Do you see a role for Disney? And if not, are you worried that a stronger competitor will come out of this?
I don't worry about a stronger competitor coming out of it because we already went through an incredible transformation in 2019 as Disney integrated the entertainment assets of Fox. We already went through a big M&A event to expand our library, to increase the amount of IP that we ultimately could take over the top directly to the consumer. So I'm not worried right now. I also think whomever ends up in this situation acquiring WBD or any asset that's available, these are situations that require a lot of time. Time for regulatory approval, time for integration, time to figure out how to combine apps, a lot of the things that we've already been through.
Yeah. Well, speaking of being through things, you have been at the center of so many reinventions. Obviously, TV, streaming, now there's AI, the reinvention of this company. What do you think it's going to take to lead a 100-year-old company into the next century?
Well, I think it's a lot of the things we're doing right now. We're going direct to the consumer, as we have in our experiences business for a very long time. Knowing them, understanding the consumer, being able to personalize experiences, building out our technology product, creating features, again, that are unique to this IP that will delight people the same way they are delighted when they go to our parks. And if you go to our parks, wherever they exist in the world, you will see the same phenomenon, which is a family or just adults about to have one of their very best days. And being able to capture that experience in our product is a top priority, and that is how we're moving into the future.
Is the golden age of entertainment behind us, or is the best still yet to come?
Oh, I don't think it's behind us at all. I think even in a world of AI, more premium are the best stories and the best live experiences. And those are two of the sweet spots of the Walt Disney Company. So again, I think those stories are going to continue to matter for a very long time. I think we're going to continue doing that, and it's going to mean something to future generations and especially to parents who want to pass down that experience to their own kids.
All right. So the best is yet to come.
I think so. Absolutely.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of The Circuit. You can check out the full episode to see how Dana Walden and a cast of Disney stars, including Kim Kardashian, Kris Jenner, and Ellen Pompeo, are reinventing what it means to watch TV. I'm Emily Chang. You can follow me on X and Instagram at Emily Chang TV. You can watch new episodes of The Circuit on Bloomberg Television, on YouTube, or on demand by downloading the Bloomberg app to your smart TV. And check out other Bloomberg podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your shows. And please let us know what you think. Leave a review. We love reviews. They really help generate momentum for the show. I'm your host and executive producer. Our senior producer is Lauren Ellis. Our editor is Gramercy Post.